Hello and welcome to another edition of Turning the Page. I'm Siddhartha Talya and I have the privilege once again of being joined by Mr. Manash Ghosh, who's now written two books, very authoritative works on the Bangladesh War of 1971 and its aftermath. He witnessed all these developments from very close quarters as a correspondent with the Statesman. He was in what was then East Pakistan and what is present-day Bangladesh when the war unfolded in 1971. He was there to witness the build-up as well, and he was also there when things began to unravel in that newly formed country, which is Bangladesh, with the downfall of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, its first prime minister. And that downfall was very interestingly brought about from people who were very much part of his inner circle. And we'll discuss that and much more, including the great power machinations that were prevalent back then and that have a lot of relevance even now, given the state of affairs that Bangladesh finds itself in. So thank you once again, Mr. Ghosh, for speaking to me. And I look forward to this interview with you about your latest work, which is Mujib's Blunders, the power and plot behind his killing, written by Mr. Manash Ghosh. And Mr. Ghosh, I'd like to begin by asking you about the cover. And this is a fantastic cover to the book. It has Sheikh Mujibur Rahman right in the center of it all. And right behind him, and I'm just pointing my finger at his face right now, that's Khondaker Mostaq. Now, little did Mr. Mujibur Rahman know that this man, relatively diminutive when compared to tall and sturdy Mujib, would be plotting his downfall not just in 1971 when Bangladesh became a liberated country, but even in the build-up. Can you tell us about the role that this man played in Mujib's downfall and plotting his extremely horrific assassination?
Siddharth, the thing is, this man, when the Operation Searchlight was carried out on 25th March 1971 by the Pakistan Army, and it perpetrated one of the worst genocide in human history. This man did not, while the other senior leaders of the Awami League headed for the Indian border, he did not leave. He got himself admitted into a nursing home in Dhaka and just waited and watched, how things would unfold. So when he found that all the senior leaders of the Awami League had gone over to India, he felt that he was being left out. So he made a beeline, went to Agartala in Tripura, and from there he was picked up by Tajuddin Ahmed, who later on became the Prime Minister of the interim government, and picked him up. But he refused to join his cabinet, saying that the Prime Ministership should come to him, because he was one of the senior most founding members of Awami Muslim League when it was founded. He, I think in 1950s, in mid 1950s, when Mujib dropped Muslim from Awami League's nomenclature, he quit the party and rejoined it, thinking that, well, if he did not join Awami League, he would be left in the lurch in the emerging politics that was to overtake Bangladesh. So this man has been a turncoat all through, and he struck a deal saying that when the interim government was conceived by Tajuddin Ahmed and other senior leaders of the Awami League, he offered him the portfolio of foreign minister, and which he accepted, but on the condition that eventually he would be made the prime minister. He did not want East Pakistan to become Bangladesh. That's as simple as clear as daylight. To cut the long story short, as foreign minister, he started developing. They were not very senior, highly placed, but mid-level leaders, as well as some senior leaders in the bureaucracy, whom he collected around him and started contacting the Pakistanis and the Americans. And he got an assurance from the Americans. The American ambassador to Pakistan was Ron Farland. Farland said that Farland had been told that by Kissinger. He had got a message from Kissinger saying that Pakistan must be preserved at any cost. It cannot be allowed to be dismembered the way the Awami League is doing, and he should try, whatever happens, he should try to keep the two units together, two units of Pakistan together.
Okay.
So we worked out a deal with the Americans, even if Bangladesh became independent, to make it, to have a confederation with Pakistan.
He played a big role, Mr. Ghosh, as you write, in enabling Pakistan to take revenge for 1971. Now, in 1975, when Mujib was assassinated with almost the rest of his family, of course, Sheikh Hasina was not in Dhaka at that point in time, so she survived. But pretty much almost all of his family was wiped out, including his 10-year son, Russell, in what was a brutal assassination. Did this assassination have the blessings of the United States of America, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and Ziaur Rahman?
Yes, yes. They didn't want to keep any member of the Mujib family alive, so that who could be the, the rallying point for the pro-liberation war movement. Fortuitously, Hasina was out of the country, and she and her sister Rihanna, so they could not touch her, but plans were afoot. Mrs. Gandhi got to know that, well, killers were being sent to West Germany, where they were, to gun them down, and gunning them down was not a problem. So Mrs. Gandhi got wind of it and brought them to Delhi and kept them under her wings.
Yes, and we're seeing that play out now as well, Mr. Ghosh. Is that not the case? Let's talk about the present day, where Bangladesh is once again in turmoil. Sheikh Hasina is in India after having to flee the country because of the state of affairs there. And many people believe that not just the ISI, but the American administration at that point in time, which was being led by Joe Biden at the time that all these things unfolded in Bangladesh a couple of years ago, they were very much hand in glove. So you mentioned towards the end of your book two individuals who could have played a role from the American side. You talk about Peter Haas, who was then the US ambassador to Dhaka. And then you also talk about one Donald Lu, who was the Assistant Secretary of State in charge of South Asia. This is in the Biden administration. Can you tell us about the role that these two individuals played, sir?
The Americans have never liked the Mujib family for once. Be sure about that. They did not forgive him for dismembering Pakistan, and whichever administration came to power in Washington, whether it was the Democrat or the Republicans, they did not, forgive Mujib for acting against American interest. The American interest was to, promote Islamabad in the Indian subcontinent. They were absolutely unforgiving about it. This Peter Haas, he was the undercover agent of the CIA, no doubt, two ways about it. Because even after he left Dhaka stealthily, just before, Hasina's downfall, which I have mentioned in great detail in my book, second book, he is now the country head in charge of petroleum company, American Petroleum Company, which sells liquefied gas to Bangladesh. So that is that's the facade he has taken right now. But he is still in touch with all the student leaders, the so-called student leaders of Jamaat-e-Islam, who brought down the regime, whom he considers Jamaat as a moderate, representing the moderate Islam among the Muslim Bengalis. He wanted Yunus to become the chief advisor of the interim government, and he played the American role beautifully. And this Donald Lu was the mastermind of unseating three governments in the Indian subcontinent. First, he got rid of Imran Khan, instigating a revolt in the party, Second, he did this in Bangladesh, and he used to say openly in Dhaka that we are not happy with Sheikh Hasina. They used to openly dabble in Bangladesh politics. They used to hold regular meetings at their residences, this Peter Haas. These students used to visit Peter Haas's residence, the Chancery, also the Pakistan High Commission, regularly. They have all these are on record right now.
So,
These
so
have
Mr.
all
Ghosh,
been
when these
documented.
people were openly destabilizing, according to you, Bangladesh and the Hasina regime, India and the United States, of course, have a certain strategic understanding about two biggest democracies and so on and so forth, cooperation. But the Americans had absolutely no hesitation all this while trying to embrace India of destabilizing India's own neighborhood. So isn't there a double standards there that India needs to be very careful about?
Siddharth, the thing is, the Americans are not happy the way India is emerging as a power in the South Asian context. Not only in South Asia, but in the world context. So they wanted to cut India to size. That wanted to tell India that, look, I am interfering in your backyard. What can you do? Just I will get rid of this government the way I want, and will install someone who is of my choice, and which you may not like. So I care two hoots about your sentiment. They knew that so long as Hasina was in power, and they wanted certain concessions from Hasina, which she refused to grant to the Americans. They wanted St. Martin Island for building a base, naval base there, a listening post, which the Americans wanted to have been trying right from the days of Sheikh Mujib, and so-called humanitarian corridor in the Rakhine state of Myanmar.
Yes.
Where it wants to carve out a Rakhine state, an independent state.
Khondaker Mostaq had an affinity for Pakistan. That was quite obvious. Ziaur Rahman also had an affinity for Pakistan. What about Mohammed Yunus right now? Do you think Pakistan is very actively involved in propping him up as well? Because that would in turn also achieve their objective of destabilizing the Indian neighborhood.
So the thing is, this man is also in Hindi you call it Pittu. He's also a Pakistani stooge. He is also a Pakistani stooge, no doubt about it. And his one-point agenda is to needle India the way and to and to throw challenges at India, saying that I dare you to attack in Bangladesh. We haven't postured anything. We have kept a very low profile. So ever since Hasina was ousted, we are maintaining a very correct stance on Bangladesh. He is trying to build old relation with Pakistan. He has already granted special visa concessions to Pakistani officials, including defense officials and diplomats and bureaucrats. Pakistani ships calling at Bangladesh ports are not supposed to be checked by the customs as to what they are bringing by way of in their containers. So senior Pakistani military officials have already visited, including their chief of the defense staff, someone Mirza or somebody, has already visited Dhaka. Yunus is not a military strategist, but he held two meetings with Yunus. Other Pakistani generals and brigadiers have also visited Bangladesh, have been invited, and they have visited Lalmonirhat airport near Chicken Snake. Chittagong Karachi shipping link has been restored, and the air services will start very soon between Dhaka and Karachi and Islamabad and Lahore.
So these are all alarm bells, undoubtedly, Mr. Ghosh, as far as India is concerned. We need to be on the watch, and we can't afford to let our guard down. But there's another fascinating aspect of what you've written. There was a certain Mr. Phanindra Banerjee who was a part of the research and analysis wing, but he was very close to the Mujib family. And he died under very mysterious circumstances in the build-up to Mujib's eventual downfall. Can you tell us about the circumstances around Phanindranath Banerjee's death and what happened? Was he killed? Was he eliminated? Did he die a natural death? What happened?
So that the thing is, that Purindranath Banerjee was an old friend and a confidant of Mujib, the Mujib.
And Khondaker and the likes did not like this. They did not like the proximity of an Indian official with
Absolutely.
Mujib on such close terms, nor did the Americans, nor did the Pakistanis.
Absolutely. In fact, journalists who were very close, who were keeping close contact with the American embassy, they used to ask me, who is this Nath Babu who keeps coming and keeps visiting Mujib? He does not visit your High Commission ever, and is in close touch. They thought that if he was around, he would be a stumbling block in executing Mujib's execution. So they got rid of him. He was poisoned. His son, who is still around, he says that no, this thing was done, no post-mortem was done. Everybody, including Subimal Dutt, who used to confide in me a lot,
and who was our High Commissioner to Dhaka as well. Yes.
He in fact confided that, well, there is something fishy about it, but we have been told not to discuss. So the Pakistani and the Bangladeshis, they got together and got rid of him. But
you're saying this for sure, sir. There's no speculation. You're convinced that he was killed. He was poisoned.
Absolutely, he was murdered in cold blood.
Then why is it that India has not taken this up very aggressively? Why are we not? At that point in time, even when he died, why didn't we take it up very aggressively with the Bangladeshis, with Mujib, with our counterparts?
The Bangladeshis were also on the back foot then, that such a thing had happened, and someone who is very close to Mujib. So they were, no one should spill the beans, and should be kept under wrap. So everybody played safe, including Mujib and the Bangladesh government. So the real truth never came out.
That's very unfortunate indeed. One day we hope
because had he been around, Siddharth, this Mujib's murder would not have taken place. I am 100% sure. He was totally committed to the Mujib family, his welfare, and Mrs. Gandhi, and India's interest.
So they basically got rid of the one person who could have stopped Bangladesh from hurtling towards a disaster. That was one super cop or intelligence officer who was basically the only obstacle in their path. In terms of present day Bangladesh, who was it who saved Sheikh Hasina from perhaps a similar fate that she may have met in the event that she'd continued to stay on in the country?
There was one official who called up Hasina at 1:30 p.m. on 5th August when this march to Ganobhavan, Dhaka's Ganobhavan, her official residence, the opposition supporters, not opposition, the extremists, Islamists.
Yes.
The Islamists were heading towards. So, a senior official, the Indian government called her up. This truth has come out in a book written by a very two Indian journalists and a senior Bangladeshi journalist, who said that first Hasina was unwilling to leave Bangladesh. She said, come what may, I will not leave Dhaka. But within 15 minutes, another call came saying that, what have you decided? Have you decided they will get you? Not only you, but your sister also, and you will meet the same fate as your father did. So then, and also Hasina's son, Sajib Wazid, called up from New York saying, Ma, get out. If you want to go to your ancestral place in Tungibada, in Faridpur, or wherever you want to, you think you'll be safe, go there, leave Ganobhavan. It was then that reluctantly she agreed. But there also she said that before I leave, I must do a recording. I must tell my countrymen under which circumstances I am being compelled to leave the country. So, but the army chief said that there is no time. They are coming to Ganabhavan. They are marching. They are basically coming to kill you. So don't waste any time. So both the sisters, both Hasina and Rihanna immediately packed their bag and baggage in 2 suitcases, and they were put inside a helicopter which flew them to Tejgaon airport, from where they were transported to Delhi in a Delhi's Hindon Air Base by a Bangladesh Air Force C-130 Hercules. But Siddharth, the thing is, Hasina, this is not a very hopeless situation. She has faced far more worse situation than this in life, and she has turned around and emerged victorious. So, and I have a hunch already. The mood in Bangladesh is changing very fast. The public sentiment, nothing has been achieved. All the goals that were set by the so-called these students of revolutionary students and Muhammad Yunus, that they would bring about a radical change in Bangladesh's governance. They have all come to naught. They have done nothing. In fact, things are far worse. Signs of change are already visible, and I think we can expect something, but because already the knives are out to get Yunus. He will find a safe exit very difficult to leave the country once his government gets toppled. I guess that there would be large-scale street violence if elections are held or not held. It will be a very unsettling period for Bangladesh.
What would India's strategy have to be from here on? Because how can we exercise some influence? How can, because a lot of people say that simply harkening back to the days of 1971 and India's assistance in the creation of that country, the present day generation of Bangladesh may not necessarily look at us with that kind of gratitude anymore. I mean, had that really been the case, then somebody like a Hasina would not be toppled in such a way. The anti-India sentiment in that country would not be so great. So how does India address the situation?
Don't forget, if Bangladesh is lost to Pakistan and the Islamists, you can write off the entire North Bengal and Northeast. You can write off. Because they will make things so difficult for India to control. They will create absolutely unmanageable situations in the Northeast. So we have to keep a very close tab on whatever is happening in Bangladesh, and we should have diplomats who have ears close to the ground, because I find some of the last few high commissioners that we have had in Dhaka, they did not have had their ears close to the ground.
This book, Mujib's Blunders, the power and the plot behind his killing, by Mr. Manash Ghosh, it reads like a political thriller. But one of the other reasons why one ought to read this book is because it explains so well about what's happening today in our neighborhood, especially in Bangladesh, and why the situation is the way it is, and what needs to be done about it. So, Mr. Ghosh, thank you so much for this book, which is basically a sequel to the earlier book that you'd written about the Bangladesh war. This is about how things began to go downhill after the peak of liberation on the 16th of December 1971, but how by 1975 the country had turned 180 degrees. Thanks, Mr. Ghosh, for this extremely illuminating work, and I look forward to reading the updated edition as well very soon when it comes out. But thank you for this very engaging conversation and fascinating work.
Thank you for having me on your program, Siddharth.